My name's Eric West, and today we're doing a Q&A. I got 6 questions from the Discord server, and to anyone who is new to the channel, the Berryverse is the core long-term fan base in the Discord. Question number 1. Top 5 favorite anime and your favorite character from each one and why? I have to put Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds somewhere in my top 5. Probably the main character, Yusei Fudo, would be my favorite character from that franchise, just because he was someone that I related to the most. He was incredibly poor, dealt with complicated circumstances with, his friendships, but he was somebody who never stopped clinging on to hope and who constantly found ways to make things possible for himself, even without any of the proper resources. That was really just a big inspiration of hope as a poor child myself, that I could really do whatever I felt like if I just stuck to it. For sure, Naruto has to be up there. Probably not for the reasons that people would expect, but Sasuke or Itachi, those would be my favorite characters. I definitely go with the Uchiha characters as a whole. I really just, as a indigenous person, I guess in ways as a black person as well, I just relate to the oppression that the Uchiha characters suffered at the hands of the second Hokage and onward, and then ultimately the genocide, that they endured as well. When I was growing up and I found out that I had indigenous relatives that I had never got the chance to meet and whatnot, and how the culture never got passed on to me, that made me relate to this show in a way no other anime or TV show in general made me feel. At some points, I related to Sasuke in terms of this intelligent kid who had a lot of baggage he was carrying around. He didn't have any good coping mechanisms. He didn't really fit in with his peers very well. In other points in my life, I related to Itachi a lot because I felt myself as a bit of a martyr. I felt myself as somebody who sacrificed a lot for the good of other people, and I felt like I was somebody who had to hold in a lot of negative experiences, negative emotions, and whatnot in a very unhealthy way, much like Itachi. I had convinced myself that it was a good thing that I was bottling everything inside, because it led to the betterment of the lives of other people. So, oh man, this is getting dark. Other anime that are in my top 5. Another anime I need to put in there. Well, I'll say One Piece, right? Because we got to get that out the way. It's one of the greatest anime of all time, and man, I really, really love Sanji, and every time we get into his backstory, I appreciate and like him more. But at some point, I just really started preferring Zoro, and I don't have any reason other than he's just super cool. The same reason that people like Kakashi Hatake from Naruto. That's it. It is just, he is cool. And it doesn't need to be any deeper than that. Ranking of Kings is another amazing one that I need to put in my top 5. And there is no character to root for other than Boji. If you've never read or watched Ranking of Kings, the anime isn't finished yet. They're still on hiatus, I believe. But it is about a deaf child who was born into royalty, who is treated very, very horribly. And eventually he meets a very interesting creature. And I'm going to leave it at that. It is beautiful. It makes me cry, and you just really want to see Boji succeed so bad, man. That's 4. What would be my 5th one? I would probably say Food Wars. Obviously, I'm somebody who cooks to make a living, to pay his bills, and so I gravitated towards Food Wars once I actually got into it. It was difficult to watch it when I lived with my parents. That I had to really unfortunately I had to wait until no one was home to be able to watch my episodes, so that part kind of sucked, but it stimulated my creativity. It made me want to question things more. I think it changed the way that I think about, or what I think about in general when I'm at work, and it made me want to be more adventurous and look into practicing different dishes at home on my free time. So it helped transition cooking from being just a job to a hobby as well. Favorite character, it's not really, I don't have a favorite character, but I have a favorite knife. I love the Mezzaluna. I know that's a really weird thing to say. I don't think they developed any of the characters very well, or nobody went through character progression other than Erina. But I didn't really care for Erina, so... But I really love the Mezzaluna knife. That's awesome. Yeah, there you go. Question number 2. Which Berryverse member do you like the most? So I'm not going to sit here and say that I've never had favorites, because I absolutely have. But at the moment, I don't prefer any of you over the other. So maybe you guys need to start stepping your game up. Question number 3. Will you do storytelling content? Yes, absolutely. So if you go through the playlists on the channel, you'll see that I had some storytime videos that I used to do. And when I had stopped and thought about bringing it back, I really wanted to learn animation or hire an animator to help me. And I wanted it to be that, because I got really, really into those animated story videos on YouTube. Specifically, I believe it was Dawn the Sauce God was one of my all-time favorite YouTubers. I probably put him in my top 10, maybe 15 YouTube channels that I loved watching. And I just never got around to it. And I never found anybody that I was able to hire that would work with my budget, or that would just get things done on time. And I do think it's been way too long. So you guys can pick like a year in my life, like or an era, a grade, whatever, or you guys can, you know, ask me about whatever the hell, and if I have a story, then sure, I'll make a video about it for you guys. Is there one thing that you regret doing with, to, or for a Berryverse member? No. Not that I can think of, at least. I don't think I've ever done anything to a person. I would hope not. As far as doing things with or for, I've always had fun. And I've never, like, done anything that was so big that I had to like really sit down and think about, if do I really want to do this, or no, like I do things for people, they say thank you, and then I move on with my life. I'm happy. What is the scariest situation you've been in? That's a tough one, because I've been in a lot of situations that would and should scare people. I can count on my fingers the number of times I've felt fear in my life, and most of those were like somebody trying to scare me. Whenever something pops up and they're like, hey, we need to do this surgery, but it's really risky, here are all the risks, I'm just like, okay, do it. Like I've had my life threatened. I've almost fallen off a mountain once. Something I went through that was scary, even if I didn't feel scared, it was a scary situation, I feel like, is I was 11 years old. I was in history class, and this teacher in specific, this school in specific, had a lot of really bad kids, right? Everybody was loud. Hardly anybody wanted to pay attention to anything. And certain classes like this one, the teacher was so I don't give a fuck that people did whatever they felt like, right? And this one day in particular was so bad that she said, okay, I'm not teaching anymore until you guys just learn how to settle down on your own. So you're going to read from the textbook and study by yourselves. So I was sitting at the same desk as the teacher, because she had her own desk in the corner, but there was another table near the board that she sat at too. So I'm sitting there with her so I can try to focus and read the chapter. And everybody is like out of their seats. There's people throwing things. There's everyone being really loud, right? And this one guy that I had a good relationship with, right? He confided in me about being an undocumented person who had to come across 2-3 different borders on foot as a kid, you know. We laughed about a lot of stuff, and we were really cool with each other. And when I'm sitting there reading, he comes up behind me with a pair of scissors, and he's holding them to my neck, threatening that he's gonna slice my throat open. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, is that you? And he's like, don't fucking speak or I'm gonna cut you open. All this shit, right? And I'm like, what? I'm so confused, and I'm just hurt. I felt really betrayed, because I was like, yo, like, we're cool with each other. What the hell is this about? And he's like pulling on my hair. He's like, I told you don't move, right? He's like threatening to kill me. And I'm looking at the teacher, and she's looking up at me, and I'm like, do something. And she gets up and goes to the corner of the room, and she starts reading a book and pretends that nothing's happening. And I'm screaming for her. I'm like, teacher, like, I'm saying her name. I'm not going to say her name on camera. But I'm like, miss, help me. And she's ignoring us. And then eventually he's like, oh, I'm just playing with you. I just wanted to see if you would be scared. And then he leaves. And that was the last time I spoke to him. And I don't remember if I told anybody like that worked there. I think I told like a counselor or someone from the office, and they didn't believe me. And I don't think I told my mom, because she never believed anything I said. So yeah. What do you wish would have gone differently? I was saving this for the last because it's definitely a loaded question. I don't regret anything I've ever done, but there's a lot of things that I do wish went differently if I had the option, right? Or if I knew how to get to that point, right? There was a person that I met in childhood that I've always known, but I never really got close with them until this past year. And it was really, really amazing. I felt the happiest I had felt in the last probably 2 or 3 years. And then we just kind of fell out, I guess. We don't speak anymore. So I would wish that we were still friends with each other. And if that's not possible, I wish that we were just okay, because I don't know where we stand with each other. So I'm gonna say that for answer number 1. I wish that that friend was still in my life. My second answer, I would say that I wish I was more social the entire time I was in school. I hung out with anybody that I could, or I spoke to anybody that I could. But as a musician and as somebody who would have loved to do and would still love to do music as a career, I wish that I made more of an attempt to build bonds with people, to try to find open mics or something that I could do, any way that I could perform and really grow an audience that way. It would have gone really, really far for me to still have connections with people that way. And especially because whether it's middle school, high school, or university, being in school is the biggest and easiest opportunity that everybody has in life to grow a following if you're going to be a content creator or an artist of some kind. So I guess I wish that I had the knowledge to be able to take advantage of that. So yeah, that was all the questions that I have today. It would be really fun to do another Q&A video sometime. So you guys can either comment other questions, or you can comment stories that you want to hear from me, or just say hi. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, people.
Turn your appearance to a disappearance. I fuck with nothing but gangsters, nothing but hustler niggas. Sound off, sound off.